Good evening, everyone. It is Thursday evening. I'm doing like a little pop-up session tonight. I hope everyone is well. I want to give you an opportunity to come on. Um, like I said, this is not my normal evening that I'm on, but please come on in. And as you're coming in, just say hello. We're going to get started in just a moment. I want to encourage you to share this with your community and come on in. All right, Jay Monique, my sister, thank you so much for joining this evening. Again, God bless you all. Thank you for joining. Take a moment, if you could, and share as we are preparing to get started. I also want to invite you to, grab a pen and grab a journal. I just believe there are going to be some things that you're going to learn tonight, maybe that you did not know, and some things I believe that are really going to be an encouragement for you. I also see my friend Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And Dottie, God bless you all. Thank you for joining. Please take a moment and share this with your community. I know tonight is going to be amazing. I'm excited about my guest and just the topic that we are going to be sharing tonight. And so I'm going to give you a moment to share and just get prepared for tonight. All right, all right. Well, good evening again. My name is Jacques McNeil. Some people know me as Mary McNeil, but I just want to welcome you tonight to Break the Silence 2.0. Thank you so much for joining me. And I am just, again, as I mentioned, I'm just excited to be here tonight. This week is National Eating Disorders Awareness Week, and I just really felt it important to shed light on this disorder because there's so much that we don't know and so much that we don't understand. And it's one of those topics, let's be honest, that we really don't discuss. But before I introduce my guest, I really just wanted to share just a little bit about what eating disorders, what they are. And so let me just get started. I just want to say hello to a few more people. I see Susie and Florine. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. So, eating disorders involve serious disturbances in eating behaviors, such as extreme and unhealthy reduction of food intake or severe overeating, as well as feelings of extreme concern about your body shape or weight. Let me just say this: eating disorders do not discriminate. They don't discriminate between age, gender, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, body shape, and size, race, ethnicities. It just does not discriminate. Eating disorders include anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, binge eating disorders, other specified feeding or eating disorders, as well as avoidant restrictive food intake disorder. There is just so much to know about eating disorders. And even though we won't be able to get into everything tonight, that's really not what tonight is designed for. Tonight, I wanted to bring awareness. Tonight, I wanted my friend and my colleague to come and share her story. So, with that, let me introduce my friend, Melissa Kurpinski. She is a software analyst at UCLA Health. She is from Michigan and she graduated from Central Michigan University with a double major in healthcare administration and business administration. Currently, she lives in Huntington Beach, California, with her husband, Alex, and they have a lovely 2-year-old daughter. Her and her husband are going to be celebrating their 5th wedding anniversary this June. And, again, I'm just really honored that she so graciously agreed to share her story with us tonight. So let's welcome Melissa. Let's give her some hearts and just some love in the chat as Melissa is joining us. How are you, Melissa?
Good. Thank you so much, Mary, for having me tonight.
Oh my goodness, you are so welcome. I mean, when I noticed your story, you shared on Instagram. I noticed it this past Sunday. And, I was touched. I so admired your courage and your willingness to break your silence. You know, I didn't know if it was your first time or not, but I was just so touched, and I admired your strength. And it's like, you know what? We need to hear her story. Others need to hear her story. And so, like I said, I'm really glad that you just agreed to come on tonight and share your story.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh,
Mary, to your point, it has taken me 13 years to share my story publicly. So this is really kind of the first time that I've openly wanted to discuss this and bring awareness. I think it's really important, especially during these times.
it is. It is. And again, with this week being, National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, what better time? What better time? And so,
Absolutely.
we want to hear your story. Please share with us, how it all began, maybe like what triggered this, and what it was like, what your journey was like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's really important to note off the bat that one statistic that really stuck out to me is that the Alliance for Eating Disorders this week shared that over 30 million Americans will experience a clinically significant eating disorder in their lifetime. That just really stuck with me and wanted me to share my story. And I've been flooded with messages and just assurance that this is true, that there's so many people going through this and so many people that have went through what
Mhm.
I've went through. I found it's really challenging to talk about mental health, more specifically eating disorders. I think it's really difficult to talk about that. Eating disorders, they can affect all ages, race, genders, ethnicities, income levels, sexual orientation, and definitely all body shapes and sizes. So for me, I really just want everyone that's listening to this to know that you're not alone. If you're going through something similar, I would just love more than anything to bring awareness towards mental health and more specifically what I've been through. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So as I noticed on your Instagram feed that it stated that at 13, I think it was something that was said that really kind of just triggered everything. If, do you mind?
Yeah.
I mean, what happened?
Absolutely. So I would love to discuss the trigger. I think ultimately what triggered my eating disorder was negative comments regarding my appearance. High school is a very difficult time, as we all
Gosh.
know. I struggled with acne. I struggled with, just a lot in high school. And softball was my outlet. I loved softball. I did a lot of lifting. And unfortunately, there were some males that had just made some negative comments regarding my appearance.
Mhm.
And I really started to take those to heart because unfortunately people can say hurtful things. And for me, being called the Hulk, more specifically a man yelling, "Oh, she looks like a man," or "She's a man,"
Ooh.
yelling down the hallway one day,
Oh my
it was
God.
really hard for me to hear that. And I think that ultimately looking back at my experience in high school, those negative words and others' perceptions of me really, really kind of drove my eating disorder and started everything.
Right.
So
Wow.
from those comments, I think I started to lose a sense of who I was, right? I started letting those comments define me in a sense and
Mhm.
really started focusing on what others viewed of me. I really stopped, in a sense, realizing who I was and started letting others' perceptions of me take
Kind of
over. So
shape.
ultimately, that is what I
Mhm.
absolutely,
And so that
yeah.
was at the age of 13.
That was 13 years ago. I do not know how old I was 13
Oh,
years
okay,
ago, but
okay.
13 years
Oh, it was
ago in
13
high
years
school, my senior
ago.
year,
Ah,
my
okay,
senior
okay.
year.
I see.
Yes.
Right. And so from that time through college, it was something you struggled with?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I do recall my parents actually making tough decisions on whether or not they should send me to college, just,
Mm,
based on how bad things had gotten. Things did, progressively get worse. And it is something, honestly, I do consider myself recovered. I'm very blessed to consider myself recovered and have found the right outlets.
yeah,
I consider myself recovered, but I do think that it's something that over the years I've learned how to deal with those feelings and kind of get to the place that I'm at today.
right. Now, so with you saying you are recovered and you feel you are recovered, I know in some of my research it said that that is something that's possible. But what are some of the safeguards that you have in place to ensure that I don't know, you don't go back to maybe where you were, or you know what I mean? What are some of the things that you have in place?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Mary. I think that therapy is really important. I found very strong value in group therapy. That has worked really well for me over the years. I've worked with social workers, psychologists, and psychiatrists, but ultimately, I think that for me, I think it's just finding the right groove, right? So group therapy has worked really well for me. And more specifically, when I was going through the eating disorder, working with nutritionists was really important, right? I actually, in going through my eating disorder, I had a very poor understanding of what nutrition was. There are good fats and bad fats, and I knew none of that. Right. So that's important to reach out to nutritionists. And my parents did a great job when I was in high school, putting me in the care of therapists, giving me the proper resources for nutritionists, both in high school and at college. That was really important. And I do think therapy is it's worked wonders for me. So I think that's important. I also think that family and a strong social network is important. Don't shut them out. And I think that's hard when you are going through an eating disorder, because it's difficult to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that I did when I was younger. I didn't necessarily want to talk about it. So I do encourage working with your family and working with your social network. And even if you're not at the point of acceptance, I think it's important to work with your family and your social network to reach out for intervention. The sooner that you reach out for treatment and for intervention, it does get better.
So how soon did you share it with someone? I don't know. Did you go through a period of time where you were hiding it? Did your family recognize this immediately, or how did that happen for you?
That is a really good point. There was a period of time where I just was in absolute denial, right? And I think that's part of the disorder, is kind of hiding it or trying to hide it. So that's a really good point. That kind of gets into my next segue here, where it was a lot about control for me, and constantly looking at a scale and, kind of just being in control, trying to control those negative thoughts and those negative comments that came up. It became kind of a game of excuses for me, and almost lying about what I was eating, right? I do recall an incident, or just an instance in high school, where my friends and we were at Seaside Heights after prom, and my dad specifically had asked me after I got home, "Melissa, what did you have to eat?" And I was like, "Oh, we all had Philly cheesesteaks and we had a great time." And my friends were really close with my parents, and they were like, we ate that, but Melissa did not have that. So a lot of that, for me, was also lying and obsessing about image. And that's kind of what it was like living with the eating disorder, looking back at it.
Right. Yeah. You were kind of covering up, huh?
Yes. It became definitely about covering up, and almost by not talking about it, and by not, accepting it or really understanding. I don't think I understood at the time what was going on, in a sense. I think it really was just trying to hide it and act like everything was normal.
Exactly. Tell me this, how did it impact you emotionally, or what other areas other than just the food and the weight? What else did it impact in your life?
It definitely impacted my mind, I think, and I alluded to this in my post. By turning all of my attention to my body, I just, I completely forgot about my mind, and I felt hopeless. And I think that's really ultimately how I felt. I ultimately felt like I didn't love myself. By having those comments define me, I faced a level of distortion by turning all of my attention to my body. And ultimately, it just kind of made me feel hopeless and made me feel like I was just losing my mind in a sense. So it was very emotional.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So when did you get help? When did you begin the work? At what point did that happen?
Well, I think my parents my parents knew that there was a problem. If they're watching, I think they can definitely, they knew when there was a problem. Rock bottom for me, I think, was when it really clicked for me, and when I really started making changes. I hit rock bottom when I went into a doctor's office one day with my mom, and I had to get blood work and vitals done every so often during that time period, just to kind of make sure that things were okay. And I just recall a nurse reading results to the doctor and the look on my mom's face when she had mentioned that the results were abnormal, that my heart rate was dropping. I just remember how sad that my mom looked. And I think that's really what ultimately made me realize, okay, there is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I already am. My parents have given me the resources, but I need to do something about it. I need to change. I'm not going to live if, you know, my heart rate keeps dropping like this, if my vitals aren't, you know, sustaining. I think it's, you know, that really was ultimately the point for me where I said, you know what, I need to make a change and I need to do something about this.
Wow. And so that did it. And so it's been, as you stated, it's been a 13-year journey.
Yes, it has been a 13-year journey. I think I've been a little open with people that I trust over the years. I've started to kind of come out in regards to it, but it's taken me 13 years to publicly, you know, really want to bring awareness towards eating disorders. I think being a mother now and seeing what my mom went through just during these challenging times, or during my challenging times, I think that has really, you know, also changed things up. And I think being in a pandemic right now too, I'm also experiencing anxiety and depression and just going through a lot of issues with mental health, as I know others are. And I think that's ultimately, you know, what has prompted me to kind of want to talk about this and address the problem that has happened 13 years ago for me, and how important it is to get help and to really just, you know, work with a good network.
Right. I mean, it's so therapeutic. It really is, to talk about it. And during this time, I mean, it's so important for, you know, us, because everyone has handled this pandemic so very differently, you know, to continue, if you were seeing a therapist, or if you were seeing to continue meeting with them. No, you can't see them face to face, but I mean, you can, like, on video, right? But just to continue to maintain that, we've got to, you know, maintain and take care of our mental health, not just our physical health. You know, we've got to take care of our, you know, mental and emotional health.
Absolutely. It's so critical in recovery. I think the earlier that you seek treatment, whether it be, like I said, group therapy, or whether it be through a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whatever it may be, I think it's really important to do that. I think that the sooner that you become more mindful and aware of what is going on and what you're truly feeling, I think it does get better.
Right. Yeah, that's great. That's great. You know, I had a few slides that I wanted to share with some statistics. And so, just so that we could get a better understanding of the disorder. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So, you know, I wanted everyone to know a little bit more about this eating disorders, right? Just various eating disorders. And Melissa, thank you again for sharing your story. And you mentioned the first one, that over 30 million Americans experience a clinically significant eating disorder during their lifetime. I think it's also important to know that eating disorders have the second highest mortality rate of any mental illness, with nearly one person dying every hour as a direct result of their eating disorder. That is just heartbreaking. It's unbelievable. Also, Black teens are 50% more likely than white teens to suffer from bulimia, yet BIPOC, or Black, Indigenous, and people of color, are significantly less likely than white teens to even be asked about by their physician, you know, about any ED or eating disorder symptoms. And so those are just a few things that I wanted you to know, as well as just some helpful things or supportive things to say, and then some unhelpful things that people say. You know, when it's things that we don't understand and, you know, we're really not familiar, you know, with it, sometimes we say the wrong thing. We just make blunders and we say the wrong thing. And some of the wrong things that, you know, people say are, hey, why don't you just eat? That's all you have to do. Or you look fine. Hey, I skip meals all the time and I don't have an ED, right? Or, hey, I wish I had that problem. Or at least you don't have, you know, and you can fill in the blank. And so these are some of the things that people say, not really understanding the impact that it has on someone who does have an eating disorder. But some of the supportive things that we can say is that, hey, you know what? I may not understand what you're experiencing, but know that I'm here for you. Or there's nothing to be ashamed of. Hey, we all are experiencing something. And how can I best support you at this time? You are enough. And, last but not least here, I mean, trust me, there are countless others that I had. But hey, it won't be easy, but the journey is going to be well worth it. And so these are just a few of the things that we can say. If you know someone listening or watching us this evening, or even the replay, these are some of the things that might that would really encourage someone if they are experiencing an eating disorder. I'm just saying, Melissa, tell us, when you were really in the midst of it, did you hear some of these unhelpful or hurtful things? Did do they like ring true to you?
Yes, yes. The left of your screen, a lot of these things, maybe not with malintent or with ill intent, but these were said at some point. And I think it's important to bring awareness to the right thing to say, right? In my post, I also mentioned that it's important to be kind, and you may not realize what you're saying or the impact of what you're saying to others. So I thank you so much for sharing this. This is really important.
Oh, you are welcome. And last but not least, as it relates to the slides, you know what? Resources and help, it's out there. And, I'm going to post this on my page as well, but I want you to know that there's a National Alliance on Mental Health Illness hotline. There's a National Eating Disorder Association hotline. And then there's a National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders hotline as well. And so jot down these numbers. If it's not something that you personally are dealing with or are struggling with, you may know someone else. And so please, please share that information, with your friends or with your family, so that they can get help, because help is there. And as Melissa said, she, even though this is something she struggled with, she is like recovered. You know what I mean? It's something that she has gotten over, and she's still working through it. She knows what her triggers are, but she has those safeguards in place. And so we just really want to make sure, that you are aware and that you have as much information as possible, especially during this awareness week. But is there anything, Melissa, that you would like to share with someone, maybe just who may be struggling, or who may know someone who's struggling? What is something that you would want to say to them, just to encourage them?
I would really just want to say that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, that there are, like we said, 30 million people that may experience an eating disorder, a clinically significant eating disorder in their lifetime. It's important to talk about these things. It's important to bring awareness to this and to know that there are people struggling with what you're going through, to know that you're not alone, and that the moment that you start talking about it, it took me 13 years to really, openly talk about it with everyone. But the more, even if it's one person, if you just talk to one person or reach out to, your closest friend or your parents or whoever it may be, the moment that you start talking about it, it does get easier. And just know that you're not alone, that there are so many people, you may not even realize it, within your friends list, you may not realize how many people out there are, what they're going through and what they're dealing with. So I think it's just important during this week to really acknowledge that, and to know that it's okay to get help too. It honestly has done wonders for me, and there should be no stigma behind it. We should really break that silence. And I think it's important to talk about this. So thank you so much, Mary, for.
Oh, you are so welcome. I'm just so grateful, that you are willing to break your silence. And like you said, just after 13 years. And like I said, I just don't believe that this is going to be the last time that you'll have an opportunity to share, because, there are people just all over, as we read, it does not discriminate. And so you even mentioned that there are some men who have reached out to you. And so, it's
Yeah.
something that is a topic that needs to be discussed. And so thank you for your courage. Thank you for your willingness to, just to come and share and, just to be transparent. I really appreciate that. I want to thank those of you who have joined us tonight. Please continue. If you haven't shared it yet, please share it with your community. We really want to bring awareness. And I, again, want to celebrate you for just the progress that you've made. Celebrate you for, just, I never would have imagined, right? It's just, it's amazing how, we as people can overcome things and not look like what we've been through. I think that is really just wonderful. So like I said, I celebrate you. I really do during this week. But I want to just close in a word of prayer. Like I said, I want to just to be sensitive to others who may be where Melissa was 13 years ago, or during that period of time when she was unable to share it with anyone, especially on this type of platform. But I just want to say a word of prayer for you. And so, Father God, right now, in the name of Jesus, I just come before you first, just thanking you for this time. I thank you for this space. I thank you for my friend and my sister, and just for her courage, Lord God, to be able to step out and to share her story. Because the things that we go through, it's not really about us. It's about the others who are going to be impacted as we come through it. And she has come through it, I mean, shining really like gold. But right now, I want to lift up those who may be feeling hopeless, those who may be suffering in silence, those who lack self-esteem and self-confidence and really just feel like there is no hope. I pray right now, Lord, that tonight that they are encouraged, and I pray that hope is released really throughout this broadcast as we are sharing, and that they know that there is hope on the other side of this. There is healing on the other side of this. There is strength and deliverance on the other side of this. And so I pray that you would connect them, Lord, with whether it's professional help, if it's someone just having the courage to speak to them. I pray that you would send relief and that you would send help. And so I just pray right now that just as Melissa is able to be here tonight to share her story, healed and whole, I pray that very same thing for them this night. In Jesus' name, amen. Melissa,
Amen.
thank you again for just your courage and just coming and sharing. I pray that you and your family, you just have a wonderful just time, because like I said, this is just the beginning of something. So look, get ready, put on your seatbelt and get ready for what's to come. But really, thank you so much for sharing. It was beautiful.
Thank you so much, Mary, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a great night. Look, I'll talk to you tomorrow at work.
Yes, talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.